Hey everyone, today we're working on a special project. So this is the SGI Indigo2 Extreme. The SGI Indigo2 Extreme, they were sent to us by Ian from SGI Depot, and they're really cool. So this is basically the graphics card. This is more or less the graphics solution. This is the extreme part of the Indigo2 Extreme. And from what at least from what Ian tells us, and he is an expert on this stuff, this system I think was $34,000 when it came out. To be clear, we did not pay that for the system. But these were like, SGI was a really high-end graphics solution provider. It was one of the first, if not basically the first in any kind of wide-reaching manner, and worked a lot with, I think, the film industry, right? Maybe some others. And so Patrick's joining me today. We're going to build these, and then after we get them built, we'll test them and see what kind of graphics they were capable of. Because these, for the time, were really high-end systems. So we'll see. I believe these even have, one of them has Blender on it. So we'll see how that does. Before that, this video is brought to you by Be Quiet and their Straight Power 11 high-end power supply. The Be Quiet Straight Power 11 focuses heavily on silence and high performance, using the Silent Wanes 3 135mm fan for efficient cooling at low noise levels, and capable of 200 RPM startup speeds for quieter, low-load noise levels than most power supplies on the market. The Straight Power 11 offers LLC, synchronous rectifying, DC to DC transformation, and comes in capacities from 450 watts up to 1,000 watts, with the 1,000 watt unit being the one we're showing today. Learn more about these high-quality power supplies at the link in the description below. So Patrick's been working on this stuff for the past week or so, and knows a lot more about it than I do. Let's go over the specs of this one. We have here, this is the Indigo2 Extreme. We also have an O2 that we'll be building today, and this I think was the earlier model. Yes. Chronologically. So what, 90? This one came out in 93, but the spec we have here is 94, more like. These are all spare parts that Ian had around, so they're not systems as they shipped straight from the factory. Right. But this is more of a 94 model. Okay, so then we have 12 sticks of RAM, I think? Yes, I think this is 96 megs total in this one, split among 12 sticks. Obviously, 4 of which are mismatched. Whichever ones he had lying around. Right. Do we know if it's like multi-channel? There are 3 groupings here, rank A, rank B, rank C. So for motherboard layout, we have, I guess, what I would call the motherboard at the bottom. I don't know if they use the same terms, but I think is the CPU under this giant? Yeah, giant passive heatsink. So this is a 200 megahertz R4000? R4000, yeah. Okay. This is, I think, from what we were reading, it's a MIPS Technologies architecture. I don't know that we know who made this specific CPU. I guess we could probably look. Yeah, we could probably pop that heatsink off. There's another one in the box if we don't want to do that one, but yeah, we might as well. Too late. There's one fan in the system. We can show that actually. It's over here on the other side of the table. At least as it was shipped to us. But this fan, the graphics assembly goes right here, and then the CPU is on the other side of it, which you'll see in a little bit. But so this will socket. How does this? It goes in right here. It sockets here, and then I don't know if I have it upside down or not. All right, that's right. Okay, so that'll socket in there when we're done. And then that fan is a pull configuration, pull the air through the cards. So I think this, I'm a little scared to take this off, honestly. I don't know how dried that paste is, if there is paste. Yeah. There's another one in there that we can mess around with as well. Okay. As you can see, Ian has carefully labeled every component. Yes, Ian, you, if you're watching, you have the most impressive documentation I've ever seen in my life, in the best way possible. It made things a lot easier for us. So Ian runs SGI Depot, which, I don't know, did you look at the site, I guess? It's like yeah, a little bit, yeah. So it has a bunch of information on all the old SGI parts. I think, does he sell some too? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's his main job, but he lists a lot of parts for sale, either for collectors or businesses that need replacement parts to keep systems running. Yes, so believe it or not, a lot of businesses that had these systems, I guess, what was it, medical, he said? Medical imaging, they had a lot of government contracts, like defense Okay.
uses, but I would hope that the military isn't using
You would hope so.
SGI systems anymore.
Yeah. Typically, though, I guess there's certain types of medical or enterprise clients, once they have something working, they really don't want to change it. So, yeah, you can, I guess some of these are still kind of used out there in the wild.
And also, I think a lot of the software, since the operating system was specific to this hardware, and then the software that was written for that operating system is specific to this hardware, it's difficult to switch away from that.
Yeah, it's a specific architecture. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Okay. A little nervous on that because I know nothing about these, how these are assembled. So here's the bottom side. I mean, we said we're building this, but I guess we're actually taking it apart first.
Mm-hmm.
What do we even? I guess I'll just pull the heatsink off if I can. I see. Okay. So there's two more. Let me pass this to you.
Okay.
Not sure what we're gonna find under here.
Yeah, we haven't actually opened that up yet.
Yes. I think that's all of the screws.
This board can take up to 384 megabytes of RAM, while the later motherboard revision has a maximum of 1 gigabyte using the later and much faster R1000
Did you say
CPU.
1 gigabyte?
1 gigabyte,
That's a lot, actually.
but not with this CPU.
Okay, so it's Intel 3175X style, except a couple decades earlier.
Nice.
Oh man, that is some dust.
Yeah, we might need to do a little maintenance before we turn this back on again.
Yes. Okay, so there's an O-ring. All right, cool. And a thermal pad. We could replace that with a icy diamond thermal pad.
Could put a real heatsink on there too.
That too.
Oh,
All right. So
it's a casting.
yes. So just an aluminum heatsink. Comes down, touches the. I guess that's the CPU, and
There should be a brand on there if you wipe that pad off.
yeah, this like snake-colored O-ring on the outside was kind of preventing us from getting it all the way off. I'll get it off as best I can, and then we'll replace it with something that's like $40. So it'll be, and recently made, so it'll be a high-end solution.
Toshiba.
Toshiba.
So MIPS is responsible for the architecture, and then Toshiba made the actual hardware.
Yeah, so this is, I guess you can think of it kind of like ARM, where you've got, that's actually glued in some spots, MIPS doing the arc work. There's the Toshiba part, and it looks like it's socketed.
It seems like it. We actually we have an unsocketed one in here. I think this is an R10,000 maybe.
So there's the unsocketed version of what we're working with. Or well, different SKU. You can see that IHS is a lot bigger. Let's call Roman and delit it. There's the bottom side.
I think he said that one was functional.
I think we have some that are very similar to that
Yeah,
from our viewers.
in appearance at least.
All right, so this is Captain tape. This is sometimes referred to as thermal tape. It is neither electrically nor not really thermally conductive either. So I'm using this just to protect the SMDs because I'm going to throw that icy diamond pad on there. And I don't want it to conduct anything because it's conductive.
I didn't actually go into the BIOS, but he points out that mouse GUI
Oh,
BIOS.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. They were about 20 years ahead of their time on that. UEFI didn't happen until like 2009. So this is just a temporary solution to kind of protect it while I'm messing around with it. We're just going to see if the if there's an indent on the IC diamond pad. If there is, then we know it's making contact and we can use it. All right, so now we take it back off. Yeah, that made contact for sure. So yeah, you can see the indent of the CPU.
Nice.
All right, so this is going to get quite the upgrade, I guess. I don't really want to put that in there, but I'll just buy another one, I guess. Well, I guess if Ian watches this video, he can compile a list of our questions as we go and then answer them for us. I want to make clear for the audience that I am being abnormally careful with this stuff. So if you're one of the people who's like, oh my God, Steve, why do you always, quote unquote, slam the video card on the table? You will note that I'm being gentle with this one. They were not built to quite the same standards in terms of being tossed around. Even like ESD standards were not as good.
Yeah, Ian double bagged everything in ESD bags and then bubble wrap outside of that.
Yes, he was very thorough. All right, cool. So it survived surgery, and I think once I get these 4 screws in, Patrick can start probably working on, I don't know, what's next, memory or something else?
Yeah, we can put the memory back in.
So yeah, for memory we have, what'd you say it was? 96.
Yeah, and I think it's evenly split.
This is pretty cool. So yeah, graphics solution, I don't know a whole lot about it. Actually, you know what? I have a good paragraph from Wikipedia on this. So while Patrick's working on the memory, here's what Wikipedia says about the graphics solution. I'm just going to direct quote it. It says, extreme graphics systems, that was the architecture, extreme graphics. Extreme graphics systems consist of 8 geometry engines and 2 raster engines, twice as many units as the Elan XZ graphics used in the Indigo, and Indigo 2. The 8 geometry engines are rated at 256 megaflops maximum, far faster than the MIPS R4400 CPU used in the workstation. It also says extreme graphics consists of 5 graphics subsystems, so that's the command engine, this is still used today, geometry subsystem, sort of still used today, raster engine still used, and frame buffer, and a display subsystem. It can do 1280 by 1024 and 24-bit color, and also does unencoded NTSC and PAL. So that's the extreme graphics system and architecture, I guess. And this is the board. So this is pretty cool because it's 3 layers, like I said. So you've got 3 layers and then a set of pins on this side that socket between those 2. There's a set of pins socketing between these 2 boards. There's another set of pins down here. And then this right here is your actual socket to the, whatever that, I guess, L-shaped connector board is that we showed you earlier with the fan on it. And these are all LSI branded chips. I honestly am not, I'd have to do some research what they are. You have Toshiba branded stuff over here. I'm guessing that's maybe memory, I don't know. I think this is just 8 screws to get apart. Same thing as the CPU where I'm a little hesitant. All right, cool. So we're gonna need to remember the order these go in. I guess it should only go in one way, really. So here's the first board. I know nothing about it. Silicon Graphics, of course, branding. In the center, we have some giant LSI modules. And I don't know if those are the GPUs. I see some more at the bottom. I mean, again, to clarify, this is from 90-something, 95, 96? Something like that?
93 or 94.
93 or 94, okay, so even earlier. So I know nothing about this stuff. I'm not going to pretend to, but that's what it looks like in the middle. And SGI, we've said this before, but Jensen Huang used to work there, founder of NVIDIA, and departed because he disagreed with SGI on a few things, like SGI didn't really see consumer graphics as a major market opportunity, and he did.
And SGI is bankrupt now and owned by HP. And NVIDIA's a successful company, so.
Yes. Okay, I guess we're disconnecting it after all. All right, bottom board, middle board, top board. That's pretty cool. So I was doing some preliminary research on the graphics solution. I found some articles that were in magazines that had been scanned and uploaded, and they were scanned and uploaded in 1998. And they were not particularly in depth. We didn't have Anand Shempi writing about these types of things yet, so I didn't know where to go look. HPC had some content. Anyway, that's the graphics solution. I'll reassemble this, and then we'll finalize the assembly of this system. What are the other parts? I guess, do you want to walk through some of these other parts on the table? We have all this stuff.
But this needs to be lifted slightly so that you can put in the EISA back plane.
Okay.
And that's not the way that goes. Like this. And he made a point that other than this cable right here in both of the systems that he mailed to us, there's not really any cabling. It's all socketed
What is
components.
that cable for?
SCSI. There's an optical drive that we didn't use, or that he didn't send, but it also connects the boot drive.
Okay, I see.
So this is the back plane. It has a lot of slots in here, of which we are using, I think, only one for the graphics.
You talking about all the blue and orange? Or no, where are the slots?
Oh,
I see. I couldn't see it from where it was. Gotcha.
Yeah. He also sent us
Starburst.
these.
Not for consumption.
Sure.
These have a very important role in all of this.
Very technically supposed to rest under the fan right there, because otherwise this back plane isn't supported. Yeah, so he says this early revision back plane has 3 GIO 64 slots, 64-bit, 33 megahertz, 264 megabytes per second, kind of like PCIe, PCI, not PCIe.
Not PCIe.
And 4 EISA slots right here. I think we're using these.
Did you say ISA?
No, we're using these. EISA.
EISA, okay.
The later Impact version has 4 GIO 64 slots and 3 EISA slots, but both versions only have 2 logical GIO slots. And then there was a custom one with more slots, enabling the use of dual max impact graphics sets. And those are the really high-end ones.
There's our graphics card.
This is the Extreme graphics set. I think max impact is the highest end that goes in these systems.
Right, so this is just one step down, I guess, from, or is it?
I think it's one step down. It's like
down.
the mid-range.
Okay, what's next? Socketing the card?
We can put the card in. If I can remember which way it goes. Yes. It would make sense for it to go like.
Yes, with the slots oriented towards the slots over there.
Is it? No, I guess like this. Okay. I was wrong. It would make sense for it to go that way, wouldn't it? But it doesn't.
Okay.
So yeah, these supports right here just hold
see.
the edges of the PCB.
Okay.
And the fan pulls air through there. You have some flexibility with where to connect this, but he recommended putting it in just the top slot.
Okay.
Okay, so there we go. This isn't supported super well. Yeah, we don't have the case, but that's why this candy thing is here, to hold up the back plane.
I'm sure we could do better than that, but that is what Ian recommended. So.
Yeah, and it's the metal supports here holding the graphics set. So.
Right. Cool, okay.
So now we have, I don't remember, this is 13W3 to VGA adapter. So obviously this is not standard thing that we can plug into a monitor.
Right.
Even the VGA signal is something that doesn't work with most of our monitors. It's a sync on green signal.
Yes, we're using actually an early 2000s 1280 by 1024 monitor.
Yeah.
For this, and that seems to work pretty well actually.
Yeah, it doesn't align super well with this one, but you can just manually move the image. Yeah. Now attach the host ID and I/O ports backplane module. So this has the I/O for keyboard and mouse, as he's very carefully labeled.
Yeah. Okay.
But it also contains the hardware MAC address IC for the machine, which is used by FlexIM for software licensing. So
is it socket here or what?
yes, it sockets in right there.
I see. Okay. There's a group of pins back here, and how does it align a specific way?
Yeah,
Like
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. It's like a USB 3 header, except more fragile.
Yeah. So theoretically, you could upgrade any of the hardware in here and not have to buy new licenses, but he says people did their own custom lockouts anyway.
Oh, of course. Okay. All right. Cool. So that is mostly assembled. We have a speaker left.
Yes.
We have a drive.
We have the power supply over here, which is pretty
Is this
chunky.
socketed also?
Yeah. I could just, since this is all on a piece of cardboard, it's pretty easy to move around until the power supply's in there.
We should test this on the power supply tester.
If you can figure out, I guess the voltages are labeled.
Yeah, that would suck though. So the power supply will connect to these pins here, I believe. Okay.
I'm sure he has a little bit more trouble running these because I don't know.
Yeah, in the UK, right?
I don't know if there's a switch on there for UK power. Line up these SCSI.
Here we have the outputs, by the way. I'll read these out because they're kind of interesting. Outputs, so we have 120 to 240 volt, and it says outputs are plus 5 volts at 40 amps, 12 volts at 12 amps, minus 12 at 1 amp, 3.3 at 12 amps, minus 5 at 1 amp, and 5 aux at 1 amp. So there's your power supply specs. I guess you could add those together and figure out the maximum power, but either way it's built for the system, so we're not going to be underpowered.
So this is our SCSI backplane. This is a massive ferrite core.
Yes, that is a gigantic ferrite core.
So this just goes right here. There's one connection to the motherboard right here, and it is powered with Molex.
Okay.
It's the only other power connector that doesn't go straight into the motherboard.
So we use that? That's for the drive, you said, or that's for an optical drive, this thing?
This goes to the optical drive. There would be one mounted in the case right here.
I see.
But it's not necessary. He says in normal use, you would transfer most of the files over the network anyway.
Okay. And then what about this one? Connects?
SCSI link assembly. SCSI ribbon cable goes to the board.
The Molex
That's kind of alarming. It's having unplugged cables, but trust in Ian. And then I believe this would be for the optical drive.
What was the OS called on this?
IRIX.
IRIX, that's right.
It's Unix System 5, but it's a custom flavor of it, I guess, for SGI. And then this is the system speaker, which is the only LED, I think, in the entire system, and mono audio, obviously. Mm. But all the sound comes out through there unless you, I guess you would have to hook up an audio board, because I'm not sure there's any audio outputs on here.
Right.
As is. But yeah, this should boot as it is.
Yes. So this is the system. This is the Indigo2 Extreme. There's the Extreme part. This is an R4, did you say 4000 or 4400? 4000. 200 megahertz processor. MIPS architecture, and we have our 96, megabytes of RAM?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what the unit of measurement was. So 96 megabytes of RAM. Power supply is connected. So here's our system then. At this point, we're just going to plug it in, look at the OS, go through some of the software on there, and we'll show you what the software looked like and what kind of graphics capabilities this had for the time. Because actually some of it's pretty cool. This one, I believe, has Doom on it. Is that right?
Yes, that one has Doom on it.
And the O2 we're going to build in a separate video, so make sure you subscribe to catch the second one. We are going to look through the software here today, though. But the O2, I believe, has Quake.
Yes.
Or Quake 2.
Has Quake on it, definitely. It might also have Quake 2.
Not ray traced. And Doom on this one. Then we have Blender to look at, some other stuff. So I guess let's go look at the software. As we boot this thing up, quick history lesson. SGI was founded in 1981. From then until the early 90s, it was an enormously successful company, famously supplying the hardware responsible for CGI effects in many movies. Maya was originally exclusive to the SGI operating systems and so had big pull. But it was also used for government and defense applications. Anything to do with manipulating tons of data, huge images, or 3D in general was the domain of SGI until 3D graphics made its way into x86 systems and SGI's position was challenged. As Ian summarized, quote, they dropped the ball with later updates that did limit their eventual success. SGI's failure to remain competitive led to its stock being delisted in 2005 with declaration of bankruptcy in 2006. The company continued to exist for several years after that, but that was the end of the SGI that anyone bothers to talk about. HP is the current owner of whatever remains after multiple bankruptcies and acquisitions. The operating system installed on both systems is IRIX. Today we're just looking at the Indigo2 Extreme, which uses the IRIX 6.2 version OS. IRIX is a Unix-based operating system developed specifically for SGI systems. You can see it in use here. We have some capture footage of it. Technically, the last update shipped in August 2006, but the last major revision was in 1998. IRIX is a variant of the Unix system VR4, which is several branches removed from Mac OS X. Maybe it's Unix system 5 R4. I don't know. But anyway, it's far removed from the Mac OS X OS or anything that any non-masochistic gamer might be interested in using. Since SGI's hardware wasn't intended for that purpose, the games included by Ian, Quake and Doom, are mostly hobbyist ports. Consider that the difficulty of running third-party software runs both ways. Emulating SGI machines is an ongoing effort, so for the time being, physical hardware is the only practical way to run IRIX or the applications that run on it. Both systems sent to us use MIPS processors, as did almost all other SGI systems until their final years, when the company switched to x86 Itanium and Xeon-based systems. Ian loaded up the hard drive with 3D demos before he sent it over to us. As he pointed out, this is impressive stuff for a system that launched in 1993. The 3D graphics you can see in our demos are enabled by that 3-layer Extreme graphics set that was sent along. SGI made multiple different graphics sets, including the high-end Max Impact that we don't have here. SGI chose not to make any consumer gaming GPUs though, and those that wanted to left to join NVIDIA. Newton is probably the most convenient demonstration of what the 3D graphics hardware in the Indigo 2 can do. It's a simple application that allows manipulating and bouncing soft body objects in real time with a bunch of controllable variables. More conventional rendering software like Blender and BMRT are also good fits. Maya was included on various versions of SGI hardware as well. Blue Moon Rendering Tools was used for multiple Pixar movies and eventually led to the NVIDIA Gelato renderer. Cosmo Worlds is an interesting piece of software for editing VRML or virtual reality modeling language. This was intended to be the file format for 3D vector graphics on the web, although the world has since moved on. Buttonfly is another good demo on the system and is sort of similar to the 3D vector graphics demo. It's a 3D GUI with completely unnecessary animations for launching other demos and files. As for games, since this isn't a top spec Indigo 2, the selection is limited. SGI runs Doom kind of okay, but Doom isn't considered a 3D game from a rendering standpoint, and therefore doesn't really show off the capabilities of the system. When we look at the O2, our next SGI system build, we'll have a couple of other software solutions to look at as well, including some Blender benchmarks that we ran on a modern system, an 8600K versus the O2. That's kind of interesting just for some charts. And then we'll also be looking at Quake, which is on our O2. So thanks for watching. We will see you all in the next one. Make sure to subscribe to catch the O2 system build with Patrick as well. You can go to store.gamersnexus.net or patreon.com/gamersnexus to help out directly. And those of you on Patreon did get to see a behind-the-scenes early look at this. So we'll be publishing more behind-the-scenes stuff like that pretty soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.
Welcome to the guided tour of your Indigo Magic user environment. This tour introduces you to the features and functionality of this environment and teaches you how to use many of the tools. To get started, place your mouse over the introduction ball and click the left mouse button.
Bye.